Alright, so I'm going to walk you through how I did this effect. This one's a hectic one. I really don't know what I did. I'm just trying to figure out After Effects again, but here we have our clips. We are going to track the motion. Now, what I advise, if you're going to do anything of this sort, use a lot of tracking markers. This was my mistake. I only had 3 tracking markers for a very big composite, and it didn't give me enough data. That's why the track didn't come out the way I liked it to come out. So now I'm going to track the motion for these markers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set the smaller square for what I want to track, and then the bigger square to be where the next frame is sampling from. Then we're going to create 3 nulls, 1 for each tracking marker. If you have more markers, make more nulls in your case. Now this part is what's going to take the most amount of time, because tracking this data all depends on how strong your computer is, your GPU, your CPU, your RAM. You're going to track it forward. For the most part, it's going to do fine. But if you hit a problem area where you move too fast, it blurs out, you're going to have to manually keyframe until it gets to a point where it's stabled out, and then your computer can handle it again and just track it forward. Should be fine. So now we're going to take all that information from the tracker and set it to target the null that we want it to go to. We're going to edit the target, hit apply, and what this does is basically takes all of that information and stitches it to that layer, that null. This is where I ran into some problems. We're going to duplicate our layer 3 times. Now we're going to freeze one of the layers, and we're going to use this to cover up our tracking markers. So we're going to create a mask, and we're going to nudge it over on top of the tracking marker, feather it out so that way it doesn't look like a different blotch of skin. And then we're going to parent this skin layer to the correct null with the tracking data. So if you have done this correctly, your mask should follow your marker perfectly. So we're going to repeat this with the other 2 tracking markers, and here I actually had to keyframe one of them because once the motion got intense, it didn't stick to the null the way I would like. So if all has gone well and you have made it through the frustration that is parenting layers to nulls, we're going to make a clean plate. We're going to pre-compose the 3 skin layers plus the 3 tracking nulls, and now we should have a layer with no tracking markers, completely clean, and you can start your effect. Import your PNG. I used a Naruto-esque PNG that I turned into a vector in Illustrator, and we're going to scale it to the size we want. Now we're going to parent this to the nulls, and for this we're going to use the puppet pin tool. We're going to create 3 pins roughly around where the tracking markers were. We're going to open up the properties of the effect. So under puppet, you're going to open up the mesh, and you're going to have the 3 points you've made. You're going to open up those points and take the position layer, and we're going to take that position layer and parent it to the position layer of the appropriate null. If you do these all correctly, they should track and line up well. The last portion to this is masking out the areas that intersect. Nobody likes rotoscoping. It's so annoying. It makes you want to punt a small child, but nonetheless, this is what you're going to have to do to make sure the areas don't intersect. Like where my hand to the right is, how it's going over, we don't want that. Once you're done adding your mask and subtraction mask and animating all of that, last thing we're going to do is put a Gaussian blur. This makes it feel less sharp. Big issue with a lot of effects is when it's too sharp, it's too clean for your corresponding footage. So I even keyframed it here for when the blurriness and the intensity goes up. Made sure it's not sharper than my actual skin. Continuing this, the next thing I did was create a rash that keyframed in with the existing image. I did this by duplicating the layer and setting the transparency mode to overlay, and from there I just keyframed it out with the effect. So I decided to do something optional, which was make another effect on top of this. So I baked everything together and brought it back into After Effects and brought it into Mocha and keyframed these little areas where I wanted this kind of flame effect to be. After you export your mask into your layer, then we're going to look up an effect called Saber. This actually isn't part of Adobe's package, but it is a free plugin from Video Copilot, I think. I could be wrong. And this comes with its own applications. You're just gonna have to scroll through the settings, see what you like. I set it for layer mask and I liked the preset energy. It gave it kind of like a flame look. So the last effect that I did in After Effects was add a handheld shake to all of the footage. So in order to do this, we're going to have to do a little bit of coding. So we're going to go into the positions, alt-click the stopwatch, and this will bring you to the expressions. Here we're going to type in wiggle, and we're going to put in 1, 35. What this stands for is moving 1 pixel, 35 pixels in a random direction, and this will cause your image to bounce a little bit. And then you can scale it to make sure it fits your comp size. Really, that settles it in After Effects. The rest is all sound effects and color grading. So good luck.